Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And joining me, as always, are my co-hosts from the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks podcast, Rebellious D and Double OT, Terrific Trav. How you fellas doing today?
Hey, D smiling? I'm in.
Hey, as always, ready to rock, man.
Hey, we are always ready to rock. We are always happy. We are always smiling up here. And y'all already know, every February, we celebrate Black History Month up here on the channel. And, we want to showcase Black talent, whether it's cosplayers, actors, voice actors up here on the channel. And joining us today is somebody who is an amazing person, somebody whose DMs I have been sliding in since last year. And we had to reach out to our good friend, Brittany Cox, who we still owe breadsticks to.
You owe breadsticks too.
I owe breadsticks to everybody. And that is the man himself, AJ Beckles. AJ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. What's up, y'all? Good to finally join y'all.
Hey, it's good to finally have you here because
I'll take a sip of that high quality H2O.
Yes, got to.
Hey, it's been a minute since we've done a video. I don't have a cup. I got my Jotaro hat. So I guess
you got on the regular lights too, man.
Yeah, I put my Jotaro hat on today. But yeah, AJ, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
And is everybody ready to go and get into today's interview?
Absolutely, I am.
Oh, brother.
All right,
Jason
awesome. So before we get into today's interview, everybody that's watching, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And D, like you say every time.
As always, like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Thank you everyone for watching, and yeah. More content in the description, I think.
Heck yeah.
Like that, guys.
More content.
Yeah.
More content. There you go. And Trav, your tip of the day?
Yeah. For more content, man, you can watch our Monster Hunter review. D's new favorite movie.
Whoa.
I don't know about all that.
Hey, I see it's on Hulu, and I'm like, yeah, I'm still good on it, man. But I will say that they added the Resident Evil movies to Netflix, and I have been watching those, and I'm just like, man, like I remember when I was a kid or a teenager, and I watched the first one, and I'm just like, yeah, like these movies still hold up. I don't understand why people hate the Resident Evil movies. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into today's interview. So AJ, the first question that I ask each and every guest up here is, what is your origin story? Every hero or a villain has one, so tell everybody who you are.
What's my origin story? Do you want the Spark Notes version, or you want the long?
I want the origin story where they went to Egypt, they opened up the tombs, and you were still alive. You were the only person that was alive, and you've been alive for 500 years. Like, all
right, I got you. So my origin story isn't really like super duper complicated or anything, but the way I discovered voice acting was I was about, how old was I? I think I was a junior in high school. And my at that point I had given up on becoming a basketball player because I'm only 5'6", and I was like, well, I'm not growing anymore. And I gave up art, because I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to like draw manga and stuff like that. But I was like, I don't think I had that love for it that a lot of really talented artists nowadays do have. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and it was right around like SATs, pre-SATs type time. People's asking, what college are you gonna go to? Got people asking you where you want to apply. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know that my mom would kill me if I didn't go to college. So I submitted to like one college down the street and everything like that, but I was very lost at the time. And my cousin, one day I was outside and he came up to me and he said, hey, would you want to try voice acting? And I think any other day, I don't know what it was. I think any other day I would have been like, I'm good, like I'm chilling. But I said yes. I was like, sure. And he knew somebody that happened to own a studio. Nothing crazy. It wasn't like a big studio or anything like that. But I went and met this guy, and he had me read some copy just to see what I was, capable of doing. And I found that, I loved it immediately because I'm a good cold reader, and a cold reading is when you can take like just any script or whatever book or anything and be able to read without messing up, pretty much, and comprehend what you're doing without messing up. And I was good at that because when I was younger, whenever I got in trouble, my mom would force me to read. She would take away my TV and everything. She'd be like, go read some books. So I was good at reading. And acting isn't something that I ever did up until that time. but I was a class clown. I was an extrovert and everything like that. And in a closed space like that, where there's a booth, nobody can see you, I felt safe. So those two things mixing together meant I was a pretty good actor. I wasn't amazing or anything, but it was enough for me to want to pursue it. So I went online, I researched and everything like that, and I found behind the voice actors and everything when they had they no longer have it, but an auditioning section and everything like that. And I asked my mom for a cheap little Blue Yeti microphone, and a laptop. I already had a laptop, and I started auditioning that way. And I just kept grinding, and I kept grinding, and I kept grinding all throughout, my junior year, my senior year. Just a hobby at first, but around college is when I was like, no, I want to do this. So I went to college because that's what I was told I was supposed to do. But as I was taking classes with voice acting coaches and stuff like that, they were like, "You're ready to go." And I was like, I looked at my mom.
Style.
Yeah,
Like that.
I went to my mom and I said, well, how would you feel if I took a break? And this is around my junior year of college, like the end of my junior year of college, or would be. I was behind in general, but this was my third year. And she did not want me to. She was like, I don't know, I think you should probably get a degree, something to fall back on. And I was like, that's true. But at the time I was miserable. I knew what I wanted to be an actor. And at the time I had switched already from communications to theater, but I still wasn't that love, that passion. I felt like I was learning more by myself and with voice acting coaches and stuff like that than I was in school. And I was like, well, why am I going to keep spending money on school if if I'm already doing it over here? So I said, Mom, look, if I can, take these next couple months, hound on me if you see me in my room and I'm doing nothing, or whatever, let me know. I'll be annoyed, but tell me, and like and I'll grind, right? Because I want to make this work and I don't want to really have to go back to school. And luckily she finally agreed. She was like, I'll let you take the time off. And everybody that says they're going to take the time off from college usually doesn't go back. And I didn't go back. And I got like a part-time job as a cashier to fund my voiceover journey, because I wasn't going to keep asking my mom for how much $100 to take a class or whatever. It gets expensive after a while. And around 2019, I think the beginning of the year, I was like, oh, I should get a booth. I didn't really need one at the time because I was still like in the indie space and didn't really care that much. But I was like, let me go get a booth. So I went on like voice. There was like a Facebook group, a marketplace group that I looked up. I was like, I looked up booths and stuff, used booths that people were selling. And there was one guy in Brooklyn. I'm originally from Worcester, Massachusetts, I should say. And this dude from Brooklyn, which is 3 hours away, that was selling his for like $1,800. And I luckily had the money at the time, so I messaged a guy, and like a day later my cousin and I rented a U-Haul and we drove up to Brooklyn and disassembled it, put it in the back, brought it back, and then I put it in my room. And a lot of people don't know, up until January of last year when I moved to LA to just to be out here, all the stuff, Takamichi, all the things I've booked up until this point was all from home in Massachusetts, in my bedroom. So pretty much in 2019 I got the booth, everything. I didn't really need it. I finally got my first couple like regional agents, and regional is really anywhere that isn't Los Angeles or New York. That's considered national. That's where you get the Nickelodeon auditions and but I had a little regional stuff, so I got some commercials and stuff, but I wasn't super happy. And then 2020 happened, and we all know what happened in 2020. And George Floyd protests and everything like that, and all of a sudden the industry, every industry that exists, looked around and said, we don't hire black people, that's weird. And I saw that as an opportunity. I knew I was ready, but back then there was no remote capabilities. I couldn't record for anime from home because there was no infrastructure for it. But because of the pandemic, all of a sudden they had to. And on top of that, the Floyd protests were happening, so everybody was looking for black talent. So I was like, oh, let me hop on this now. So I sent emails to everybody I could. And I was just like, please, here's my stuff, here's my stuff, here's my stuff, here's my stuff, please look at it. And at the time, there was like a couple people that had seen my posts on Twitter back when I had like 200, 300 followers. They were like, hey, I think you're pretty good. I'm going to forward this over to my friend, Stephanie Shea, who owns NYAV Post, and stuff like that. And, a couple people that were like willing to take a chance on me. And those things never really went anywhere, but it was a sign that like, okay, I'm doing okay. And eventually I had reached out to Studiopolis, and Studiopolis does Bleach, and they do Naruto, and they do everything like that. And I reached out to every other studio too, but they were the only ones that got back to me with Jujutsu Kaisen auditions. And I didn't book or anything like that, but again, it was like, I'm doing something right. And I just kept grinding, and then I wanted representation from an agency, so I reached out to every agency, but Vox and an agency called Atlas. Or sorry, not Atlas, Abrams. And I was down on myself at the time because I was like, nobody's giving me a chance, nobody's letting me, like, I know I'm good enough, what's going on? And lo and behold, literally I'm talking to somebody, and during that conversation, as complaining, I get an email back from Vox about 5 days after I applied, saying, yeah, we want you, like, right now. Nice. Because again, everybody wanted black people, and not only am I black, but I'm really good, and I have a young sounding voice, which is kind of rarer, and something they needed. And I had Source Connect, and I had a booth, which again I didn't really need a year prior, but now having it when everybody else is scrambling to find one because everybody's working from home, I was like, I was important, a necessity, and they knew they needed me. So they're like, yeah, we'll hire you right now. And they sent me a contract. They sent me like 5 auditions, and I was like, oh my gosh, here it is. And I'm running down the stairs and I'm screaming. I'm like, guys, I did it, like my family. And then an hour later, the other agency contacts me, and all of a sudden I had to choose. And I ended up eventually going with Vox, and that was like towards the tail end of 2021. I ended up going with them. And then a couple months later, after being with them for a little bit, trial and error and everything, I decided it wasn't really the best place for me. So I signed with CESD, and then right after that, I booked Takamichi, and I booked what's it called, Kemono Jihen as Shiki. And from there, people were like, "Who is this kid? Like, where are you coming from?" Because normally you start off doing Walla, and then you do some bit parts, and then you might have like a character, like a small character that says a couple things, maybe an episode, and then you get maybe a main character. But off the bat, both of my characters are both, Takamichi's the main character, and then in Kemono Jihen, Shiki talks the most in the whole show because the main character Kabane doesn't really speak, so he's kind of like Shiki's kind of like the person that tells the audience exactly what's going on. So they're like, whoa, who is this guy? And then ever since then, it's been, I'm here, I'm doing it. So that's my origin story.
I mean, that's a nice origin story, and it's a snowball, because I just want to piggyback off of what you were saying about how you got into the business, and at first it's just like it was hard getting into. But I remember, like, because we interview so many voice actors, and you had popped up on it was either my Instagram feed or my Twitter feed, and then it's just like after I saw you up there, like you were saying, like the ball just kept on rolling and rolling and rolling, and you were in Shaman King, the Shaman King reboot that came out and whatnot, and I want to talk about Shaman King, and one thing I really want to talk about, because you were talking about the stuff that happened in 2020 and how studios wanted black voice actors. When we started doing the podcast, we all grew up watching anime that's up here on the podcast right now.
Okay,
and absolutely. Back in the day, I've always been a huge fan of Bleach. And, of course, Bleach back then, they had so much representation with people of color in anime, which you really didn't see a lot of. And when I was a teenager, I thought that Tozen was voiced by a black guy. You know what I'm saying? Same thing that goes with Family Guy. I thought Cleveland was voiced by a black guy. And I think it was like a couple of years ago when we were going to do the Black History Month interviews, I was going to reach out to the voice actor who voiced Muhammad Abdul in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I had told Trav, I said, Trav, he's a black guy. And, it just goes to show, and my light just cut off on me. It just goes to show that
I like it.
Nah, I don't like it.
Michael.
Because now I'm in the darkness. I'll fix it soon. But back to what I was saying.
Don't stay there too long.
But back to what I was saying, it's just like you had the opportunity to voice Tozen and Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War.
Mhm.
And I just want to know, like, how was that opportunity? How did it come to you? Like, did the original voice actor, did he say that, hey, I want to, step down from the role? Because that's what happened with Chad's voice actor. He stepped down from the role so that way that somebody else could voice that character. Like, how was that overall experience?
So I want to add to kind of what you're saying and about Bleach and kind of sing its praises a little bit. And that not only was it one of the few, I think another one is Soul Eater. Soul Eater has I forget his name, but a black character. But not only was representation there, it's like one of the few times in anime where black characters aren't written with huge lips and as a caricature or anything. Like Tosin just looks cool, and that's not something that with hair that like ethnically matches what a black person's hair would look like and everything like that. So that's awesome, and props to Kubo for that. But like you, realizing as I was researching, because honestly, I'll be honest with you guys, before I really got interested in voiceover, I didn't watch English dubs. I watched the sub. That's just what I did. So there's a lot of people that even now they're like really famous people, Johnny Young Bosch and everything, people that are really crazy and good at what they do that I didn't know who they were. So discovering that like Tosin and everything was voiced by white folk and other black characters voiced by white folk was kind of shocking, but I'm not surprised. The people that cast these people in whatever character you're talking about, I know now, and none of them are bad people. It's just kind of like the way I like to think about it, and I don't know if it's 100% true, but this is my theory, is that if you go into a room and you see you, right, like you're a white person, and you go into a room and you see like a bunch of white people, that is your representation. That's you. You don't have to, but you're not thinking about, wow, there's 30 of us here and none of us are black. You're just thinking, oh, this is just my people. This is my. So my agent even told me that like she looked around after the Floyd protests and she was like, we didn't realize that 95% of the people that we have on our agency roster is white. And she's not racist. None of these people are racist, but they had to, it takes a level of I guess criticism of yourself to look around and be like, okay, exactly. Self-awareness, like you have, and for a lot of people the Floyd protest was that leap. So to go to Tosin about how I got that, to be honest, it was mainly because I have a good relationship with Studiopolis now. Studiopolis, they gave me my first opportunity and I didn't book it, but I right after that, and I joined CESD, I booked Takemichi and I worked with them for months, and I've booked other things with them that are bigger things, and I've worked with them for months, and it's kind of become like there's a kind of what happens once you are known and once you are like someone trusted is you just start getting offered roles. So they looked at the character and they said, hey, well, I don't know the reason why the actor didn't come back. I do know that in a lot of cases they are thinking more about like, maybe we shouldn't have a white guy voicing a black. It just makes sense. Even if you don't fully care, it's one of those things where you don't want the backlash either. So you'll do the right thing. And I'm not saying that they don't care, because I think they do. Yeah, I don't know the exact circumstances. I think Tosin has had 2 actors before. I don't know their names, but I think it's 2, and both white. And I think the last guy to play him, I don't think he's worked in a bit, and I don't know why that is. But I don't think he's worked in a bit, so I don't know if it was much of an issue to be like, oh, we'll just recast. Maybe they asked and he declined, or maybe they were just like, no, we'll just go in another direction. But all I do know is that I received an email, and they were like, hey, we have this character. If you don't want to voice this character, that's okay. There, in the future, if we do dub the rest of this arc, there's more characters that'll come, and I'm sure you'll have a part, but like this is we're trusting you with this, and we think they wanted to get the representation right. And I almost said no. Honestly, I almost said no, because if you go back and listen to Tosin in the original, like especially when he's no, sorry for the spoilers, but he has a fight with a particular captain at the beginning of the series, kind of, and his voice is kind of deep, and my voice isn't. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do a good job, and obviously everybody likes to compare actors if someone's being replaced and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't know if I want to, but I said, you know, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try my best to pay homage to the voice that everybody's used to. But I'm going to do it my way. And I think it's important for the representation to be there. And I don't want to be the one that denies it and then they don't know who to go to. And then, you know, so I was like, you know what, sure. And I ended up taking it and I don't regret it. And it was, I think I was just scared. I was like, it's Tosin, you know. But I'm very glad I did. And very grateful they trusted me with it.
First off, kudos to you, AJ, and
thank you.
Your career so far, man. Keep going. I just wanted to touch on the subject of Black representation, and I just think it's one of those things where a combination of a lot of things really led up to it. Whether it was a lot of Black people just not thinking or knowing how to get into it. I just don't think those avenues. Nobody really explored it earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, Bo Billingsley is one off the top. He's one of the few that have been doing it for a long time.
Yep.
And it was just, I think that in light of all the, obviously the tragedies all together was just eye-opening, the protests. And it just kind of a combination of those people becoming aware of their rosters and extending those. And even with people being able to do it from home, I think is what really is helping things along.
Oh, for sure.
As far as representation, people stepping away from roles.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big smorgasbord of what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. In general, something I like to say to cons is unfortunately there's a lot of ethnic groups, not just Black people, but that have been kind of stilted. For monetary reasons, right? It's not, as everybody likes to say, like, oh, AJ, you did it. Like, I'm still very privileged. Not many kids at the age of 18 have $1,800 to go get a booth.
Yeah.
My mic costs $2,000. I am not like gonna sit here and be like, I was poor and I made it no, I'm from a middle class family. I'm light skinned. And that is also a thing that matters, weirdly. That I know because my skin is lighter, that it's less threatening to people. It's less, So, I think that there's a lot of communities that have been stunted. It's not cool to be a Black kid and do theater growing up. Yeah. It's not cool to talk. I mean, talk about anime. Kind of Black people, I feel like, really push anime, to be honest. But basketball, music, that's what you do if you're Black.
Yeah,
you don't act.
I think it's more of an evolution thing. When I was much younger and growing up, I was one of the only Black kids who could skateboard, and do these things. And it was like, it's fun to kind of just sit back and watch. It's just evolution, I think. Yeah. It could be more of that than anything. Because now it's like, I see, way more Black kids skateboarding at cons and openly expressing these things. That was the other thing. The closet effect, where you get picked on for reading comic books.
Yes.
That's still a thing, I'm sure, to some degree, but not like it was in the early 2000s and late 90s and stuff, So I think it's just evolution too.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah, I just feel like the only thing that like Black I want to get to this too, but like Black content creators, because it's like something that I've been going through recently, like since I started cosplaying, is you're cosplaying as a character, but you have people that will hop in the comments and say, oh, this is the Black version of the character, or they'll use like a name, like for my Jotaro, like they've called me like a racist name, or like my Deku. Like I just posted a video earlier and somebody was just like, oh, I guess Deku's going to start carrying a gun now. I'm just like,
why can't I just...
Yeah, why can't I just cosplay and have fun like everybody else? It's like, so, some people always like to try and bring race into it, and it's very hurtful. Like, there's so many Black content creators that, post online about their experiences of, just going to conventions and trying to have a fun time, meet other cosplayers, and you would just have other people out there that are simple-minded, that think that it's cool to, say hurtful stuff to people, and
Yeah.
it's not, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever experienced anything like that in voice acting?
Kind of weirdly the opposite. Especially voicing Takemichi, the response I got was like, "Wow, that Takamichi's black." Like I remember, someone had done an interview of me at New York Anime NYC when I did that a couple years ago, and they just had me do a voice of Takamichi, and everybody, like, when he posted it online, he had a fair bit amount of followers, and everybody was like, "He's black, he's wow, oh my gosh, Takamichi's black," and not in a negative way. It was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever." Now we'll support, which was cool. So I haven't experienced the negative aspect of like, you don't belong here, or like, here, I see what you're doing, but let me just put you down a little bit. Luckily, I haven't experienced that yet. My girlfriend Inaris, she's amazing, but she has, when Mirko was announced, they were like, "Oh, she doesn't sound this enough," and stuff like that. Whatever that means. And it sucks. It sucks to not feel like. And the thing is, nobody's going to tell you this, of course, to your face. Nobody's, it's not going to happen. And a lot of the times, these are kids. These are like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. Sometimes I have to remind myself that there really is no kids space. I don't know if you guys, how old you guys are, but like growing up, we had like Webkins, Pop Tropica, and we had like things online before the internet blew up. Kids don't really have that now. They're kind of mingled in adult spaces. So a lot of the kids, that they think it's cool to be racist or funny, and they'll put that in the comments and stuff like that. And I have to remind my friends, like, look, I know you want to fight back, but you don't even know who you're talking to.
That's true. Yeah.
And if you give them the attention because they want the attention in any way they can get it, then that's just going to make them come back. So don't even block them, mute them. Because if you block them, they'll make another account and they'll keep bothering you. Just mute them. And when you go to cons, those are the people going up to your line, the people coming up and telling you how awesome your cosplay looks. Those are the people that support you. No one's going to go up to your line and call you whatever. I mean, maybe, but for the most part, they're not going to go up to your line and do that. So learning kind of how to deal with negative criticism in any way, racism or otherwise, has been a challenge, but it's something that you kind of like have to learn, and I think you're just unfortunately guaranteed to get if you're of any skin tone that isn't pale, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to hear that about your girlfriend too, because I love Mirko. Like, she does a really amazing job, and it sucks. And one last thing, then I'll pass you the ball, Trav, because we just been going back and forth, me and D. We had interviewed Christopher Dontrell Piper, and y'all can check out his interview. It is up here on YouTube, where you can listen to it on the podcast. And when he was announced to be voicing Dipso on Dragon Ball Super, he was saying, like, people on Twitter were just like, "Oh, he's black. Like, he shouldn't sound like that. He shouldn't talk like that." And I'm just like, guys, like, come on. Like, it's not that serious.
No, it's ridiculous. And unfortunately, it's never anything you can control. Honestly, I think part of the reason why I don't, and it's funny, and I have a quick aside to this, but part of the reason why I don't get a lot of that backlash is because people don't realize that I'm black a lot of the times when they hear my voice. I remember growing up playing Xbox Live, and I didn't get hit with the N-word or anything like that, because
Call
people
of Duty triggers.
Call of Duty. I used to get hit with it all the time.
Stay away from
Jesus Christ.
I never got it because I didn't sound traditionally black to people, and I didn't say the N-word. I didn't, I was young, and it's crazy though, and very interesting that I find that I'm told all the time when I'm a kid and everything, you don't sound black, you don't sound this, you don't sound that. But the second I get into an industry, it matters. All of a sudden, it doesn't. Oh, well, even if I do sound quote unquote white, because I am black, it matters. So that's interesting to me. But that's also part of the reason why I think I don't get a lot of backlash, is because a lot of people, if they hear my work without knowing who I am, they don't realize I'm black. They think I sound like Johnny Young Bosch sometimes.
Yep. And these are things that guys like Lupe Fiasco has been talking about for 20 years now. Gerard Carmichael just hosted the Golden Globes. And it's kind of, when you're talking about 95% of their roster was all white people before this situation happened, and they had to take a cold hard look at themselves in the mirror. And it's weird because it's kind of that double-edged sword for a lot of black talent, now that Gerard Carmichael was talking about, where he made the joke that he literally got the gig because he's young and he's black, and they need a young black guy to host the Golden Globes because it makes them look good. So then it's like, okay, do you want me for me, or do you want me because I'm in this category? And then that can make people feel inner things that they're starting to. Dude, it's a lot to unpack.
You got to be careful because that's a thin line. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, they're entertainers. You know what I mean? So it's like, you refuse the role or whatever the job is, and then kind of get semi-blacklisted, if you will. People wonder where. Oh, well, he hasn't done anything in about 5 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's something that myself as Zeno, I know, and really all of the people that are like really popular right now in terms of voice acting currently, that are black, have to worry about is being tokenized. I know that I have made the personal decision that if excuse me, like, you guys are dope.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys are dope. And Brittany was like really singing you guys' praises and everything like that. So I didn't mind doing anything like this, but like, I won't say who or what, but I've come to the decision where I'm like, if you haven't hired me in a year, don't ask me to do your Black History Month interviews. It doesn't make any sense. If you haven't really hired black people, and God knows how long, don't, I know, like, this is what you're supposed to do. Somebody told you in the company, hey, this is what we have. It's Black History Month again. Just figure something out, but interview some people. And I get that the people doing the interviewing mean well, but the fact that, like, if somebody's going to ask me, hey, do the interview for us, and I'm like, y'all haven't sent me an audition? Nah, I'm good. And in that sort of what you're saying, Rebellious, is like, when I get stuff, when I get auditions where it's clearly like the joke is like the character's just black and that's the joke, and they're like a caricature and that's the joke.
Yeah, then you turn it.
I turn it down. I turn it down. I'm like, you send me everything. Like, Joko's great. Tosin's great. There's black characters that I've played, and they're great because they have more. There's more to them than them just being black. But I'll turn down something even if I'm perfect for it. Even if I know, like, oh, it's probably between me and like 4 other people. I don't care. I won't do it because I don't want to be the guy that's used, because we all know AJ's we got a black character here, just hit up AJ, he'll take it. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm an actor, and I'm a good one, and I think I'm one of the top people at what I do. So I don't want to be just I don't want to be the filler.
The go-to guy that they give. And the piggyback off of that, it's the same, because I'm a professional wrestler. And it's just cool. Like, thank you. And it's like you were saying, it's like, you don't just want to be handed something because it's like they just need that spot. It's like, your worth, and like what you are going to do and what you're not going to do. And I feel like, once you know your worth and you believe in yourself and you're confident in your ability, nobody can tell you anything, because it's like, I've seen it before in wrestling where it's just like, sometimes it's like they'll just use people just because it's like they need it. And, growing up, a lot of black wrestlers, they always played a role where it's like they were a thug or it was something that was offensive, and I love that. Or
even like African descent.
African descent or something. And I like that now. It's just like, you can just be a wrestler that's no different than anybody else. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you still come up with your character
and
what
evolution,
you want to base
man. I think that's a big, because there is exposure, and people are, in a way, a lot of people are poking the bear for different reasons. Like, it's 2023. You know what I'm saying? You can't keep doing this stuff. Like how, the characters, like how they've changed over time. How I just remember the black, what was he, a boxer in Dragon Ball way back when? Was it a boxer that he fought?
There was a boxer.
Look at how far we've come with characters like Tozen and things like that. I mean, shit, for a long time, the coolest black guy I think we had was Cyborg 008. I think was that
008.
Yeah, I mean, he just looked like Cisco. I mean, I guess it was all right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's just come along. You can't get away with that stuff,
No.
because the internet is here. We know what everybody in the world looks like. Whatever their excuses were, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's dead. So.
One last thing, then I'll pass it to you, Trav. I'm sorry, but because it's like we're talking about this topic, but at Hampton Comic Con last year, Bo Billingsley and Megan Hollishead, they were doing a Q&A, and somebody had asked Bo the question of, like what does it mean to be black, and should black voice actors only voice black characters? And Bo was just like, well, if I only voice black characters, then I never would have voiced Jet Black, which was, one of the biggest roles that he did, because it's something that people still talk about to this day. Cowboy Bebop, everybody loves Cowboy Bebop. I mean, Naruto, Ron, that's a good role too, but everybody talks about Jet Black. Yeah. And Megan, she had said that, there are so many white voice actors in the industry, and white voice actors, it's fine for them to voice like characters that aren't black. Like if a character is a person of color, let a person of color voice that character. Like somebody that's white does not need to voice a character that is a person of color. But if somebody that is a person of color wants to voice a white character in the anime, that's fine, because there's so many animes out there where it's just like those opportunities need to be given, so that way it's more fair and there's a wider spectrum for everybody that has been voice acting for a while, and new voice actors that come into the industry have those opportunities. Right. And I thought that both things that they said were spot on. Right? It's just, I'm just happy that there's so many more opportunities in the industry now for black voice actors.
Yeah. No, just getting people. It's there is a trap of like, I think there needs to be a constant conversation with casting directors. Like, hey, like I know there was something a property where they're like they were in discussions during production, and they were like, hey, we haven't cast any people of color, any black people or anything like that, and there's been like 100 characters, or whatever, and they were like, oh yeah, okay, well then we'll just save all of the black characters for when this, when we got this black, area or this black whatever coming up. And they were like, no, like that's not, you can cast black people as or any, whatever, Indians, South Asian, as these characters. You don't have to wait. You don't have to only give them these. That's the other trap, is that people kind of have, it went from, because the original goal, I think there was a movement kind of in voiceover during that time, was we just want the auditions. We weren't getting the auditions. Right. Zeno will, I don't know if you've ever talked to him, but he will say he didn't work for 10 years, and it wasn't because he was just bad or anything like that. He didn't work for 10 years. He booked Ben 10 when he was like a kid, and then he didn't work. And it was because he wasn't getting the auditions. He had to beg and he had to plead, and even then he didn't get them. Yes. And we just wanted the auditions. We didn't, honestly, personally, I did not care. I was like, if somebody white or whatever plays a black person, not ideal, but as long as they're not doing a caricature, they're not making fun of the culture, they're just doing the voice, whatever, that's fine. I wanted everybody to get the opportunity. Instead of it being 30 white people getting the opportunity, I wanted it to be 5 to 10 white people, maybe 6 black people, 7 Asian people, and then whoever books it was just the best for the role, because it's voice acting. We should be able to do whatever. It doesn't matter, right? It shouldn't matter. But I think we've gone kind of like further, where it's just become like, people have been hyper fixated on getting exact representation. Like, you have to be like, we're looking for a South Korean black, just super exact. And I'm like, that's tough, because then you're putting a lot of pressure on the casting director to get it exactly right, and then they're getting backlash. And then, like, if we get it close, I think it's important for black people to voice black people, Asian people to voice Asian people. But ideally, I think everybody should be able to voice anybody, as long as it's respectful. And I think it's kind of worked sort of against POC in that way, where it's like, oh, you're black, we'll just give you the black people because that's what we were told is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And they won't even think about you for Tim Drake or Damian Wayne or anything like not Damian Wayne. Am I thinking Damian Wayne of Batman? Is that his name?
Yeah.
But they did cast the black guy as Tim Drake in the Titans show.
Yes,
so I thought
that was cool. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yes. So that's cool, but like that's what I want to get. I want to get Peter Parker. I don't want to get Miles. I don't think I fit Miles Morales, but give me Peter Parker.
Yeah, that is true. I can see that.
That's true.
But they're never gonna think of me immediately for Peter Parker, but they will think of me for Miles Morales, and that's kind of like the switch that I would like to happen, where I would be like, hey, I'm black, so yeah, give me Miles Morales, but also like vocally and personality-wise, I think I fit Peter Parker more, so why shouldn't I get that audition?
Yeah, exactly.
Then again, what's his name? Robbie Damon booked Peter Parker a couple years ago, and he's a Native American, so that's cool. But yeah, I would like that to happen more.
I mean, the one thing I want to say is you would think, or maybe it's just in years to come, but it's voice acting is voice acting. If you have the voice for it, it shouldn't matter what the color is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You should be able to get the role.
Yeah.
And I think it is eye opening because there's a lot of voices out there, I guess, that aren't even being thought of when they audition. Some people probably have their mind made up, for whatever reason, this is who I'm casting.
I'm gonna be honest, there's still stuff where I look at and I'm always happy for my friends. I want to put that out there. I'm always happy for my peers and everything like that, no matter what their skin color. But there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, why didn't I see that audition? We have the same vocal type, the same vocal range. Why didn't I even look at that? Not to say that like the person doesn't deserve it, because they do. They're good. But it's like, why didn't I at least see the opportunity? And I'm right down the street. It's not like who I am. Why wasn't I thought of? It's very weird to me. And that still happens. It still happens with me, myself, Zeno, and Eris, Danny Chambers, anybody you ask, and that is honest with you will tell you that there's a lot of stuff that like we should be getting that we don't, and we have to actively work a lot harder than our peers might know to get the same opportunities, even now, even with our names known. So we've gotten a lot better as a community, as a voiceover community, but there's still work to be done, I think, in that regard.
Yeah, sure.
I just want to ask this off of what you said real quick. Sorry, Banks.
No, you're good. Oh, hold on. All I was going to say is we interviewed Danny Chambers. She's an awesome person. Check out the interview. Hey, I gotta always plug this stuff. Check out her interview. It is up here on the channel, or if you want to listen to it on the podcast.
Hell yeah.
Trav, go ahead.
And I want to ask this, and this isn't to try and get like a hot take or any hot water or anything like that, but is it because nobody really knows the answer why to this is happening, or nobody wants to come out and say that why this is happening?
You mean why people aren't getting the opportunities?
Yeah, if you're saying that you all have the same vocal range and it didn't come to your desk, but it came to my desk, why didn't it also come to your desk? Does nobody know the answer? Or is there's an answer, it's just we don't want to open up that can of worms for that answer?
I think there's not, I don't know if there's an answer. I think everybody has their theories. My theory is it's subconscious a lot of the times, where you're used to hearing a certain type of name, a certain sound, I don't think in general we play enough with like accents, and not just like German or British or whatever, but like someone from Brooklyn or someone from Baltimore or something like that. That's not put in anime because it's not neutral enough. Neutral American, meaning you can't hear an accent or whatever. So that means there's a lot of black people that have a very specific dialect way of speaking that aren't given opportunities, or they hear the audition and they're like, oh, no, that's not neutral enough. We can't work with it. But on the other hand, a lot of anime, like there's a lot of people from Texas that work in anime, and you can hear their accents, and and nobody complains about that.
Right.
So in that way, I think it's more of it's a slow process. Even now, there's still like, how many new black voice actors have you heard of besides myself, and Eris, Danny and stuff, like new voice actors that are booking leads and stuff? Really not any.
Yeah.
It sucks. So we have to kind of keep pushing that, like when I go to I have to keep doing my best work all the time because it might inspire somebody to try. I got to go to cons and tell people, hey, like if you want to do this, do it. Because there's still a catch up period. Yeah. There's still a bit of a catch up where it's hard, at least I'm speaking for anime specifically, there is nepotism. In every industry there's nepotism, but acting, you know, especially anime, it's cast quickly. So you cast the people that you know can do the job, which is how I got Tosin. You cast people that you know can do the job and can do it efficiently. And a lot of the times people don't want to risk taking the time on a new person, no matter what their skin color is, because that it takes time. It's like, we don't even know if this person can. We have this many lines that needs to be done in this many hours. If this new person sounds good, but can they work that well? If they're not good at it, I don't have time to sit down with them, and which is why people, you know, do Walla first and do small stuff first, so they can get a gauge of how well someone can act to picture, do ADR and stuff like that. So in that way, that keeps us back because there's not as many black actors as there is white actors that are actively trying to do the thing. And if they are, they don't have the money. They don't have to afford the booth in their room, but to afford the microphone that is standard now that costs $1,000. So in that way, that's part of the reason why there's a bit of a lagging behind period, even if they are searching, quote unquote, searching for people. But it's still no excuse. You know, at the end of the day, like, I've been kind of under the assumption that, like, I don't know exactly what goes into casting or anything like that or production, but I don't think it's that hard to spend like an hour or two on a weekend to compile some new demos that got sent to your email and listen to them. And add people to your casting call list or something like that. And I don't know if people really put in the effort to do that like they were a couple years ago. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of up in the air. But people definitely probably have their theories, and obviously, you know, in some way don't want to go out and say these things publicly because people don't want to get blacklisted. At the end of the day, the people making these decisions, they don't think they're racist. They don't think they're doing anything wrong. So all of a sudden you're calling out so-and-so person that might have given you a role or two or three. And they're like, well, look, I did this for you, and you're going to say I'm this horrible person? Well, screw it. I'm not going to give you any more auditions, or I'm not going to cast you if you... So a lot of people are scared. And it happens not just with race, but, you know, there's a lot of problematic people, not just in voiceover, but in the industry. People like Harvey Weinstein that get away with so much, but everybody knows about it because everybody's scared of saying the wrong thing and not getting an opportunity, because it's the difference really between, you know, me working and getting a you know, six-figure or even just a salary in general, and me working at the local Walmart, you know, because somebody don't. So it's scary.
Yeah, you don't want to risk it, because I mean, it was the same thing for me in wrestling. Like when all that stuff happened a few years ago, it's just like you really started seeing people for who they really were. And it's just like, you know, when I started speaking up about a lot of stuff, it's just like, oh, you know, Benjamin Banks is this, Benjamin Banks is that. And I'm just like, I'm black. Like, am I not supposed to say anything at all? And I mean, you know, you see that stuff. And, you know, I just want to piggyback because like there's been so many black voice actors that we've interviewed. And, you know, somebody that I'm really proud of, and they're always, you know, posting whenever they do stuff, is Kevin D. Thelwell.
Oh, yeah.
Kev, man, like he's always hustling. You know, we interviewed Lee George, Jamie Gray, Evan Michael Lee. Like we've interviewed like all of these talented people, and it would be awesome to see them featured in more stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like I totally get where you're coming from, where it's just like, you know, sometimes it's like you do have to work twice as hard because you don't get those same opportunities, which sucks. And it's not because of who you are. It's just that sometimes those things just don't come to you, and you don't know why it didn't come to me. So hopefully that changes. And things get better, because like there's so many talented people out there and really nice, cool, humble people. And it just sucks that, you know, we don't hear their voices in as many things as they should be in.
Yeah, I think things are changing, and I think they think I'm talking kind of. I have been negative sounding, and like things aren't, you know, but in ways like prelay animation, where there's more people working behind the scenes. They have more time to cast. They have different ethnicities. They have women casting and stuff like that. I think things have gotten better in those areas, where they'll make active decisions like we want, our role, our cast to be diverse.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And or they'll say, I'll get stuff from like Nickelodeon, Disney, whatever, where they'll be like, hey, here's the character, and it'll be like a little, white character or whatever, but they'll be like, if you book this role, we will change the character design, and like tweak the background depending on the person that books it. So it's not like if you're not this, you can't audition. Which is cool. So there's things being done, and I do have friends in casting that really do care about this and are really like trying to get as many different people involved as possible. I've seen recently, even though it's not in big roles, I've seen people in Crunchyroll, a couple new like Latina people like being cast, which is really cool to see. And they're newer and stuff like that, and I hope that continues over there. But I think it's going to be a slow process, but I do think it's getting better.
Nice. So I know when we do these interviews up here, we like to talk about a bunch of things, and I love when we have conversations like this, because we could just talk about stuff that you've done in your career and whatnot, but we like to keep it real up here. You know what I'm saying? So,
there's some severity to the situation.
Exactly.
It's not about. I don't think it's about like the tone, coming off as negative.
Yeah, like, I don't think it is either.
It's serious stuff.
It's serious. These are the conversations we need to have.
Yeah, it's not all rain, sunshine, and rainbows. You know what I'm saying? Not even in voice acting. And
even in voice acting.
Hey, it's not a podcast until we get a couple D metaphors up.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we keep it real up here, man. So Trav, he is a huge fan of Tokyo Revengers.
Heck yeah.
I want to, because we've been talking about all this stuff, and I've been wanting to pass the ball to you, Trav. So Trav, and there you go.
It's nice because I feel kind of bad, even though we're talking about a serious subject, where I really want to talk more about you as a person and not nothing else. You know what I mean? But for Tokyo Revengers, like Banks said, it's like season 2 just started. I haven't started watching because. That going back to what you said, I also grew up with the subs. That was my preferred way to watch most anime. Now we've come a long way with the dubs. Tokyo Revengers is one where I prefer the dub. And
really?
I mean, you as Takamichi is just so good. I mean, you've had me multiple times. Not to sound weird, but
you're fine.
I mean, I'm sitting there like. Bro, I'm sitting here bawling because the delivery is so believable, and that's what we didn't get in dubs 15 years ago, was the authenticity of the performance. And I mean, but it's that whole cast, really. Like you said, Studiopolis is doing really good work right now, and we had Sean Shiplock on who played Draken, but I don't remember who played Mikey.
Alex Lee.
Dude, all these people are so good. The dub's just phenomenal. I can't wait for y'all to get back in there and do season 2.
Yeah, I'm excited. Actually, I'm getting in there and I'm dubbing tomorrow for I'm starting tomorrow, so that'll be.
I love these simulcast kind of. We're only a couple weeks behind thing instead of. It'll be out next year. Don't worry.
It's honestly it's really nice to be able to get back into it. It's been so long. I think it was stalled a little bit because of the pandemic, or maybe I don't know. They just took a while, but it's been a bit since the first season. Especially since the hype of that first season, and I think this season is going to be better in terms of content. I don't know if you've read the manga, but if not, you have a lot
it is better in terms of content. So.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing like how they animate it and being able to play this kind of darker, almost kind of we're heading towards.
It's a situation, fellas. Let's just say
so it'll be cool. It'll be cool, and I'm very grateful. And Takamichi, like I said, was my first like role ever, anime role, and I was really nervous doing it, and I was lucky enough to have a great director that was willing to take his time with me and help me out figuring out Takamichi and everything like that, and we just had fun. We just had a good time, and Takamichi's cool because he'll have like really dark moments, but then he'll have like really funny moments, and then he'll be kind of like cool sometimes, and then he'll be crying a whole lot other times, and so I get to kind of go all over the place in terms of his personality, and being able to be a part of his journey. I was never expecting it to blow up as much as it did, and that's another thing that's really cool to see is like how much the Black community has enjoyed Tokyo Revengers and stuff, like going to cons and stuff. It's not like the hardest cosplay in the world to do, so that's also helps. But it's like
we see the jackets all the time, and they fire.
Yeah, they're fire, and it's cool. Like it's really dope. So I'm grateful, and I'm excited to do this season for sure.
Absolutely, congratulations.
Thank you, man. Thank you, and I appreciate your kind words about the performance. Thank you.
So AJ, now I want to ask you, like, when you're not behind the microphone, what are some of your hobbies that you're into? Like early in the interview, you mentioned that you wanted to play basketball and whatnot. Is that something that you still like to do when you're not voice acting?
Yeah, unfortunately, like I stopped playing for a good bit, because I was just like, oh well, I'm not gonna. But it really is like, I'm the type of person, if you tell me to walk for exercise, I'll be like, nah, I'm good. I mean, it's good for you and the sun and everything like that, but like running, like go run, like the exercising for the sake of exercising has never excited me. But with basketball, like I don't think about it like that. Right. It's like a therapeutic. It's like you could tell me to run and I'll say no, but if you tell me to dribble basketball as I do it, then I'm like, oh sure, it's fun. So I still like to play basketball from time to time, and I think I want to start doing it in order to lose some weight, because that I put on during the pandemic that I never like started to get off. Other than that, video games, I've always loved video games growing up, and I kind of like what I want to do in terms of voiceover. I want to do performance capture and stuff like that eventually one day, and do that sort of thing. But video games have always been like my safe, happy place. Like I'll play Valorant, I'll play Apex, I'll play single player games, Hades, and all these great games that come out. And that's really honestly it. Other than that, just like hanging out with friends, just quality time with friends, going out and doing events. I like to go out into nature. I think nature is just the coolest thing ever. Especially since I just moved out to California, there's so much like kind of diversity in what you can do here. There's industry stuff, and you can get involved with that crowd. I personally I'm not super into like industry mingling. I have friends in the industry and stuff like that, but like I don't know if I'll go, like it'll be my first thought to go to a party of like influencers and content creators and stuff like that. I kind of like to keep my circle small and do like small gatherings and play games, watch movies, shows, whatever. And then you can also like just go an hour, in any direction, and there's like a different type of environment to go check out. There's snow in some places of California. You can ski, and there's national parks here and stuff like that. So it's I kind of like to do a little bit of everything, but that's my main thing to do, like video games and like just going out and exploring in general.
Yeah, I know when we had interviewed Kevin Andrew Rivera, whose interview y'all can check out up here on the channel or listen to on the podcast. He was talking about like he loves to go exploring and like try to find all of the best ramen places in California.
Dude, yes. Food, that's another one, food. And it's part of the reason why I struggle with putting off weight is I love food so much, and I love like finding new places, finding new places and like making new recipes, like cooking. Oh my gosh, I love that too. I've been trying to find like a good pizza place out here, and it's kind of hard, but we found some place recently in West Hollywood that's like, it's called La Antica something super Italian, and it's like the best pizza and Italian food I've ever had ever, and I'm trying to like stop myself from going back over and over so I don't ruin it for myself, but it's so good.
Yeah, I heard that about like some of the food over there. I'm about to plug somebody else, but when we interviewed Ken Forey, whose interview you can check out up here on the channel or listen to on the podcast. When he came here to Virginia, because every time after we interview a guest, we always tell them that dinner is on us if we're ever at the same con as you or you're in the area. And he was just like, I want some really good soul food, because I've been living over here in California and I've never found a really good soul food place. And since I'm coming to the South, that's what I want. We took him to a nice soul food restaurant, and he was at heaven. Dope. Yeah, he was at heaven.
This place had Kool-Aid out that you could just get willy-nilly. And what they have on the TV?
I was gonna say they had Diary of a Mad Black Woman playing.
I said, God dang, this is crazy.
I know their customers.
We had a good time.
Yeah, we did have a good time. We did. So AJ, we're here at the end of the interview, and D, he always has this famous wrap-up question that he always loves to ask. It's 2 questions. Sometimes it may be 3. But it's all rolled into one. So D, the floor is yours.
Oh, and I should say real quick though, I do have an extra like 10, 15 minutes if you guys have any other questions that, but yeah.
All right, sweet. First question, growing up, favorite 80s or 90s movie or both?
Favorite 80s or 90s movie or both?
Yep.
And it could be any kind of movie. It doesn't matter, animation otherwise.
Your favorites, not mine. Your favorites.
Wow. I really like, when did Independence Day come out?
90s,
right?
90,
oh yeah, maybe
no,
96,
not 92. Yeah, 96, 97.
Yeah.
Well, that was the start of Big Willie weekend. So
they called me Big Willie.
Yeah.
Men in Black was 97 the year after.
Yeah,
yeah. Wild Wild West.
Independence Day. Wild West. That's another one. Independence Day. That one's interesting.
Thanks. I'm gonna guess 98.
I'm checking right now.
I know you are. I can tell.
And then
96. Sorry.
Okay, 96. Okay.
And then animation wise, again, I hope it's before the 2000s, but no, it has to be Atlantis.
I think that was.
I think it's 2000.
Was that 2000? Yeah. All right, then I'm gonna say. Wait, what about Hercules? What about Hercules?
Hey, that's top 5 right there.
Right. 98.
Top 5.
Yeah, that's somewhere around there, Trav.
Yeah,
99, 98.
2001 is when Atlantis came out.
Okay, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Okay, I mean, hey, great answers as always. All our guests have phenomenal answers. It's just cool to see what the answers are, really. Second question, growing up, was there anything that spooked you, scared you, and stayed with you? Whether that was a creepy lullaby, a weird doll somebody in your family owned, a weird tree shadow at night. What you got?
I watched this movie when I was a kid called Queen of the Damned.
Oh, hell
yeah.
I watched that movie.
Rest in peace to Aaliyah.
Yeah,
rest in peace.
When I was
that soundtrack
kid,
fire, too.
Oh, yeah, no question, Trav. No question.
I don't know if it was because that movie scarred me. I was a kid. I was so scared. So I have like this irrational fear of vampires. Obviously not real, but like I don't like vampires. Anything that has them, I'm just like, nope, I'm good.
If you would have seen, you might think vampires are real. That's all I'm going to
say. All right, you might. Some people still.
Yeah.
So, hell yeah. Captain, back to you.
All right. I mean, well, since we got a little bit more time, I just want to ask one more question. And because it is Black History Month, who is a Black character, like in comic books, anime, fictional TV show, or movie, that is one of your favorite Black characters of all time?
Of all time? Oh, boy. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say like I'm a full-on expert on the character, but I remember growing up and really liking Static Shock. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Static Shock because it was like it tackled like real world problems.
Yep.
And he was just a dope ass character. So Static Shock, yeah. I'll say Static for sure.
Okay. So now let me ask you this, because I tell these guys this all the time, but like, could you see D and Trav cosplaying as Static and Richie?
Oh yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be sick, actually.
Gotta get up. Gotta get up. Gotta go. You know what I'm saying?
Do it.
Gotta get up. Gotta go.
Absolutely. What? That'd be dope. Y'all should definitely do that.
Oh my god. Yeah, I want to, like, legit. I want y'all to do it.
Hey, I'll put a shock to your system. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. 100%.
Oh my god.
Hey, now, are we a Celtics fan?
Me? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Hey, shout out to Jason Tatum. He just dropped that 50 burger.
He pisses me off. You know why he pisses me off? Because I'm 20.
Just passed Larry Bird?
Well, no, because I'm 24 too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And man, I'm like, man, I gotta watch this kid. That's not a kid. Just dominate. Right. Oh my gosh, no, but I love the Celtics, and Jason Tatum is so much fun to watch, and it's cool seeing him grow the past couple of years since he's joined the league. He's like probably gonna, and he's not even at his peak yet. He's still got a couple years on him.
Still
so
developing.
I hope he hasn't gotten hurt. really. I mean, he's gotten hurt in little ways here and there, but like he hasn't.
Look, he got the tape. He wear the tape on the shoulder. That's what I know. He good. He good.
Yeah, that's enough. So yeah, no, I love the Celtics 100%. Yeah. All
right. Well, hey, we're here at the end of the interview. AJ, thank you so much for joining us. We had a fun time. Thank you. Hey, this is a good way to start off the first episode for Black History Month. So thank you again, AJ. And with that being said, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you at.
Oh, so you can find me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I think that's it. At AJ Beckles VO. For all of them. So yeah.
All of them. Y'all heard what he said. All of them.
I keep it consistent.
Hey, Trav, let them know where they can find you at.
All three of y'all. You can find me on the Instagram, of course, as EK Audio. I'm on the Twitter and TikToks at TRAVIOSEK, where I'm also on Letterboxd, ranking and rating my daily movie watches. D Static, where they gonna find my man at?
As always, you can find me at rebellious_D23 Instagram.com. And Banks, if they need a hero other than Static and Gear, where can they find one?
Hey, you can find me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you all for watching this interview. Make sure you check out some more interviews we have here on the channel, along with reviews and reaction videos. Check out the podcast. We have brand new episodes every Tuesday. The link is down below in the description. And with that being said, keep that pinky up. Stay positive. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.